Imagine a film after which the lead actor has nosebleeds for 3 days, the stuntmen leave with real scars, and the director keeps shouting, "Not enough blood, give me more." This isn't a horror movie. This is the making of Scarface. Forget everything you know about behind-the-scenes Hollywood. Scarface is that rare case where the legends about the production sound harsher than the film itself. In this episode, you'll hear the raw, dirty, unfiltered truth about how Scarface was actually made and why this movie still smells like blood and cocaine.
Push it to the limit.
1983. Hollywood is vibrating from money, ego, and white powder. The Dream Factory decides, enough with polite gangster fairy tales. It's time to make a film after which the audience won't clap. They will want to wash their faces. The most expensive, most reckless crime experiment of its time. Scarface. 3 names are tied to this project. Names that make studios cross themselves and smile at the same time. Brian De Palma, Oliver Stone, Al Pacino. And a suitcase with $25 million. A budget that could fund a few classic dramas, but instead they chose to burn it in honor of one Cuban refugee with a mind like a ticking bomb. More money than The Godfather and Apocalypse Now combined. Perfect. That means more blood, more screaming, and more white powder filling the frame. Everyone at the top is convinced. A masterpiece is being born. A stylish gangster ballad where men smoke cigars in half-light, talk about honor and family, and where violence looks almost elegant. But something else arrives on set. A 3-hour cocaine fever dream where the camera doesn't just record the insanity, it trembles with it. Blood flows thick and sticky, bullets feel too real, and the actors break in ways they never do in normal films. All of this begins with one man, Oliver Stone. He crawls out of rehab where doctors scrubbed his brain clean from powder and pills. And instead of writing a gentle story about recovery, he decides, I'll write about a world where nobody wants recovery in the first place. Stone flies straight into the cocaine heart of America, Miami, early 80s. A place where money, blood, and white powder mix into one cocktail. He goes where normal people wouldn't step even in daylight, into houses with windows sealed for years, where curtains never move, and where every tabletop has seen either drugs or weapons. He sits in smoke-filled kitchens where glass countertops sparkle with tiny crystals, and listens as dealers tell stories without morals, stories about men who disappeared in drainage canals, about deals made over bodies that were still warm, about a city that switched from rum and cigarettes to death measured in grams. To win their trust, he doesn't pretend. He snorts with them, not for pleasure, for truth, for the phrases no one says when sober. He reads prosecutors' files, watches tapes of real butcheries and shootouts. After this, the script simply has to cut to the bone. Stone returns to Los Angeles, not like a triumphant writer, but like a man who has carried too much hell back inside his skull. He drops a brick of 300 pages onto the table, every scene like a gunshot, every line like a punch to the stomach. The pages are wrinkled, stained with coffee, sprinkled with ash. He has deep, dark circles under his eyes, as if he hasn't slept since the Carter administration. His eyes still shine the way they do when powder is living in the pupils. De Palma sits down to read. At first he flips pages calmly, then his expression darkens. There are no safe places in this script. Not a single scene where you can relax and breathe. He closes the stack of pages, runs a hand over his face, and gives the verdict. We're shooting it, all of it, nothing gets cut. No mercy, no censorship. We lift this stone and show every piece of filth under it. Al Pacino takes the script the way you take a role that scares you on instinct, which means it's exactly the right one. He reads Tony Montana and understands. This is not a character. This is a virus. Once it gets inside you, there is no way back. But Pacino never acts for awards. He acts for the feeling that he went through everything his character survived. He sets himself one goal. The viewer must not just see a drug lord. They must feel how greed, fear, and cocaine rip open his veins from the inside. Pacino changes his voice, makes it rough, burned by cigarettes and screams. He works on the walk, a man who spent his whole life walking against wind and hatred. He asks the crew to speak to him the way they would speak to Tony, harsh, direct, without polite Mr. Pacino. He does not want comfort. He wants pressure. When he arrives at the first rehearsal in character, a cold shiver runs through the assistants. Standing in the room is not a Hollywood star, but a man you should never argue with. From that moment, the line between actor and character begins to dissolve. Day by day, everyone forgets Pacino ever existed without blood on his shirt. Filming starts in the spring of '82 in Florida, and it becomes an instant climate torture chamber. The heat slams down from morning like someone moved the sun closer. Humidity hits 90%. The air can be eaten with a spoon. Cameras fog, lenses sweat, lights hiss from overheating. Makeup artists cry as everything they apply melts after 20 minutes. On set, mountains of prop cocaine, piles of it, bags, boxes, giant containers. Technically, it's just baby powder, lactose, and a mild laxative. But from an arm's length, it looks like the financial statement of a real drug empire. The bags smell sweet. White dust floats in the air, settles on hair, shirts, eyelashes. By evening, everyone looks like they've joined the lifestyle. Security guards patrol the improvised warehouse like they are guarding gold reserves. Every night they log the number of bags. Every morning they recount them. The numbers never match, always missing a kilo or two. Everyone pretends they don't see it. Some joke about mice. Others point at the most energetic crew members. That's not coffee talking. Rumors grow like a snowball. Only here, the snow is white powder. The first real shock to the psyche is the motel chainsaw scene. Not just an episode, the film's manifesto. Welcome. It only gets worse from here. De Palma bans anything that looks theatrical. No clean fake blood. No careful stunt choreography. He wants the room itself to feel like a hostage situation. The floor is flooded with real pig's blood, not a cup, buckets of it, mixed with glycerin so it shines thick and stays wet. The warm studio lights heat it up, and the room starts smelling like someone left a butcher shop open in tropical weather. Actors step inside and within a minute breathe through their mouths. The sweet, meaty stench hits the throat like a fist. The actor playing Angel is suspended on a system of straps and hooks. In theory, safe. In practice, the straps cut the skin, the metal digs into muscles, and after 3 hours he is shaking uncontrollably while the chainsaw roars half a meter away. He has lines in the script. But very soon the lines disappear, replaced by raw, panicked screaming. It's no longer acting, it's the body crying for help. The sound operator, listening through headphones, winces from the volume. People on set look away. The brain refuses to believe this is just a movie. "Don't you dare slow down," De Palma screams. "Don't you dare stop. That's the truth. That's what the audience will hear when they close their eyes after the film." Pacino in this scene becomes a guide into hell. Before him, a half-meter mountain of cocaine, perfectly smoothed like snowy miniature Alps. The prop masters are proud, safe, clean, harmless. Pacino frowns. Tony wouldn't even think at this amount. Add more. They add. The white hill grows. Pacino leans in, inhales, one breath, another, a third. On the first takes, he sneezes, wipes his eyes, drinks water. On the 10th take, his eyes turn red, his nose clogs, his breath grows rough. The sugary chemical dust burns his sinuses. By the end of the day, his nose begins to bleed. Red streaks drip down his lip, mixing with the white powder, forming a strange, painful mask on his face. He walks around set with cotton in his nostrils, speaking in a muffled, raspy voice like someone whose throat has been scraped with sandpaper. When someone asks, "Maybe we should stop?" he just smirks. Tony would keep sniffing, so I will too. Meanwhile, De Palma becomes a tyrant with a megaphone. Workdays stretch to 18, sometimes 20 hours. Assistants can tell time only by the color of the lights. Cold light means morning, warm light means evening, and if everything is glowing red and people are screaming, it's the middle of the shooting day. The director doesn't just give notes. He crushes people psychologically. "You're not gangsters. You're office rats in cheap ties," he explodes when a scene falls flat. "You're afraid of blood, afraid of dirt, afraid of each other. Has any of you ever seen a real fight?" He demands that actors don't act exhaustion, but collapse from it. Not act fear, but enter frame with real shaking hands. Filming becomes a survival marathon. Even Al Pacino, a man trained to work on the edge, has his limits. One day, when De Palma pushes a scene to the 20th take and prepares for the 31st, Pacino finally snaps. "Shut up and shoot, stop preaching at me," he snaps. And suddenly, there is a chair in his hands. The chair flies toward the director's monitor, skids across the floor, catches a cable. Everyone flinches. Somebody instinctively covers their head with their hands. In answer, De Palma grabs a stack of script pages from the table and throws it at Pacino. The pages explode into the air. White sheets spin in the heavy heat, fall onto a floor already covered in blood and sweat, stick to boots, to cables, to puddles of pig's blood left from the previous takes. For 1 second, there is silence. Even the cameras seem to wake up from a mechanical trance. Then, as if nothing happened, work continues. A few minutes later, both of them are standing by the monitor, breathing hard, watching the last take. In Tony's eyes there is real hatred. In his voice, torn rage. No stagey overacting, no performing actor. Just a man at the edge. "That is cinema," De Palma mutters. And the set comes back to life as if nothing at all had happened. Somewhere close by, on the other side of the stage wall, white powder settles on black asphalt. Blood dries, and the crew gets ready for the next scene, even crazier than the last. But before they reach it, they will more than once confuse where the film ends and their own cocaine fever begins. The shoot crawls toward the finale, and the set no longer looks like a movie production. It is a burned strip of land, a front line where the trenches are cables, spotlights, and pools filled with fake blood. People fall, not on the cue, action, but because their legs will not hold them anymore. Actors walk around in bruises, burns, and bandages like veterans of a war nobody recognizes. And in the middle of this chaos stands Brian De Palma, for whom all of this is still not enough. Not enough sweat, not enough screams, not enough destruction. He wants more blood, more powder, more madness. The final chord is the death of Tony Montana, the scene that makes all the previous hell seem worth it. The mansion is turned into an altar. Marble staircases, golden railings, a statue with a globe, and the words, "The world is yours." And below, a pool that is about to receive the body of the film's main monster. According to the plan, Al Pacino must fall into a fountain filled with blood. At first, the prop department pours in water colored with red dye, gets the right shade, a little darker than ketchup, a little lighter than a nightmare. De Palma looks into the monitor, stays silent for a moment, and then says, "Too pretty, too clean." It has to be so strong that the audience can smell death while sitting in their seats. They add more dye, then more. The water stops being water. It becomes a thick, viscous burgundy soup where the light from the spotlights breaks like in a puddle of oil. The surface does not splash. It breathes slowly and heavily. Pacino, already dressed as Tony, covered in wounds, stands at the edge and breathes in hot air that smells of pyrotechnic smoke, powder, sweat, and the sweet stink of fake blood. "Let's go," someone from the crew says. "Roll camera," De Palma says, and Tony goes down. The body crashes into that heavy liquid, the fountain explodes, red spray hits the cameras, the operators, the concrete floor. For several seconds, Pacino does not surface. The blood pulls him down, the suit gets heavier, chemicals sting his eyes. Finally he rises, gasping for air. His face, hair, neck, everything is covered in the red mass. He looks like it is not the character dying, but the actor himself. De Palma shows no pity. "Again," he says calmly, as if he has not noticed that the man in the pool already has shaking hands. And so it goes, take after take. Pacino swims in that bloody stew for an hour, then 2, then 3. The dye soaks into his skin, into his pores, into his ears, his hair, under his nails. By the end of the day, he climbs out of the pool bright red like a boiled crab, with the whites of his eyes inflamed from the chemicals. Makeup artists scrub him with brushes, sponges, solvents. The redness remains, as if Tony has decided to settle on his skin forever. Before the fall into the pool, there is another ritual. The scream and the machine gun. That little friend who has long become a legend. In Pacino's hands, there is no plastic prop. It is a real beast. A heavy weapon that weighs close to 30 kilos. Cold metal, oily to the touch, as real as the consequences of every shot it could fire in real life. He does not just need to lift it, he must carry it. Swing it, hold it up as if it is an extension of Tony's body and not some external mechanism. No hidden straps, no secret supports. He has to look like he slept with that gun in his arms, De Palma says. "Take." Al lifts the machine gun. His shoulders strain. The muscles in his arms shift under the jacket like snakes. The ammo belt hangs down like a tail. Fire, smoke, flashes, roar. The sound tears at the ceiling. Pacino shouts his line, and at that moment it is hard to say where the written words end and where the pure animal scream begins. The scream of a man who has squeezed himself dry and then stepped beyond that point. During one of the takes, his legs give out. The floor beneath him is slick with blood, sweat, broken glass, and powder. He takes a step back, loses his balance, and falls. The gun, heavy as a foreign fate, goes down with him and slams into his chest with its full weight. The air shoots out of his lungs. His vision darkens. Something cracks. Pain does not come at once, but when it arrives, it slices along his ribs like a knife. The set freezes. Someone grabs their head. Someone is already running toward him. Someone swears so hard that even the microphones seem ashamed. Pacino lies there, pressed into the steps, breathing in short, animal gasps. There is the taste of blood in his mouth. Real blood, not prop blood. Salty. He pushes the machine gun away, slowly sits up, wipes his lips with the back of his hand, and spits red onto the floor, which is already red. De Palma leans over him. "Hospital?" he asks. Al lifts his eyes, filled with the same insane fury with which Tony Montana looks at the world, and croaks, "Shoot. As long as I can still walk, you shoot." The production drags on like a nightmare nobody allows you to finish. December of '82, 144 days of hell. Not a shooting schedule, a sentence. The budget swells to 37 million. Blood. Delays. Burns. Damaged equipment. Legal battles over the rating. Extra shooting days. New stunt doubles. Behind the scenes, someone is already whispering, they are going to bury the studio with this. But the crew still believes that what they are making is bigger than a movie. It is a statement, a challenge, a slap in the face. Masterpiece or suicide, they will figure that out later. Finally, it is over. Cut! Cameras are switched off. People go home. Some on foot, some in wheelchairs, some with bandages, some with shaking hands. The body of the project is covered in scars, and everyone is sure, now the world will see this madness and bow down. 1983. Premiere. A big screen. A dark theater. Studio bosses in expensive suits. Critics, pens sharpened, ready for a new gangster opera. And then, an ice bath. The film gets a rating that almost slams the theatrical doors shut. An X, a brand that means too much blood, too many drugs, too much truth about what money really looks like when it is earned outside the rules. The critics roll over the film like a steamroller. Some write that it is a dirty, immoral, bloated slaughter. Others call it a 3-hour commercial for cocaine that leaves nothing behind but a bad taste. In some theaters, people stand up and walk out halfway through the screening. It is too heavy, too loud, too sticky. They came for an elegant crime tale. They got a lobotomy on the subject of the American dream. The first week at the box office is a failure. Numbers lower than predictions, lower than the bar, lower than everyone's mood. In the offices of Universal, cigarettes burn one from another. Phones glow hot. Producers repeat only 2 words. What now? Somewhere off to the side, De Palma and Pacino look at the numbers and think the same thing. That is it. We went too far. This film will bury us. Al Pacino admits years later that he did not just play Tony. For a while, he lived as Tony. So much so that sometimes he woke up in the middle of the night from his own scream, ran through lines in his head, felt as if the heavy machine gun still lay on his chest and the powder still burned inside his nose. Michelle Pfeiffer later says she still cannot look calmly at white granular substances. Sugar, flour, powder, all of it sends her back to those days when safe props filled lungs and knocked her heartbeat off rhythm. When Brian De Palma is asked why everything turned out so brutal, he only shrugs. "I wanted to show America of the '80s without makeup, just the way it smelled, the way it shot, the way it snorted." And he did. So honestly that many people simply could not handle it at the time. Scarface is not just a film, it is a cocaine fever, caught off guard by a camera. It is blood that has soaked so deeply into the film stock that no restoration can ever wash it out. It is Tony Montana's scream, still echoing in the heads of those who once stayed until the very end. Scarface is just one scar on the body of Hollywood. If you want to see the others, with blood, meltdowns, failures, and moments of genius on set, subscribe to the channel. After these stories, ordinary movies will never look so innocent again.